The Chief Executive of Ghana Cocobod, Dr. Stephen Kwabena Opuni, and senior management of Cocobod and its subsidiary Cocoa Marketing Company (CMC) were in Paris to sign the annual receivables-backed pre-export trade finance facility for 2015-16. The amount raised this year was $1.8 billion. As per the order of the ceremony, the event started with the pre-signing ceremony where the CEO of Cocobod, Dr. Stephen Opuni, CMC manager Mr. Bennett Akantua, and the bank's president signed the first set of the loan documents. Following the pre-signing, Mr. William Sharp, Director Loan Syndicate at Natixis, called for the start of the main signing ceremony. Present to witness the signing was a high-powered Government of Ghana delegation led by the Deputy Minister for Finance, Honorable Ato Forson. Also present was the Ghana Ambassador to France, Her Excellency Ambassador Joanna Odonko Swanika, the Ghana High Commissioner to the UK and Ireland, His Excellency Victor Emmanuel Smith, and the Chief Economic Officer of the Ministry of Finance of the Republic of Ghana, Mr. Kwabena Buedu Oku Afari. Representing Cocobod along with the Chief Executive was Mrs. Miriam Okwabi, Deputy Chief Executive Finance and Administration, Mr. Charles Dodu, Director Finance, Mr. Clotisefa, Director Legal Services, Mr. Johannes Vegbam, Deputy Director Legal CMC, and Mr. Musa Limboni, Manager CMC UK. The fully underwritten facility was arranged by a syndicate of 23 banks and supervised by the legal representative, Mr. Jeffrey Wynne, Head of Trade and Export Finance Group at Sullivan & Worcester, London office. The high regard for Cocobod's creditworthiness was endorsed in a short speech by Mr. Jean-Luc Tolaine, Head of Energy and Commodities Trade Finance at Natixis.
Despite challenges experienced during 2014-2015 crop season, we would like to offer Ghana Cocobod heartfelt congratulations for the success of this year's financing. Ghana Cocobod's well-established reputation as a regular borrower in the international market since '93 allowed for such a result with a significant oversubscription of the facility. We all joined together in extending our best wishes to Ghana Cocobod and the cocoa farmers in Ghana for a successful campaign for the upcoming main and light crops and a rebound in Ghana's production. In the longer term, we also wish Ghana Cocobod continued success in the efforts to promote sustainability of cocoa production in Ghana, to encourage young farmers and to improve cocoa farmers' living standards. I think we could all see that it's happening as we met some new young farmers a few months ago in London. Throughout 2015, we have seen sharp moves in cocoa prices in the futures market, with high volatility from the low of around 2,800 in Feb to the high of nearly 3,500 reached in July.
Addressing the banks at the ceremony, Dr. Stephen Kwabena Opuni, the CEO of Cocobod, assured them that Cocobod will continue to ensure it remains a credible borrower by putting strict financial structures in place to ensure Cocobod honors its debt obligation at all times. Dr. Opuni emphasized on the important role the cocoa industry plays in the economy of Ghana, supporting over 1 million farm families.
Since its introduction into our country in the 19th century, cocoa farming has dominated our economy with almost 3% share of GDP, employing 1 million farm families and providing a source of livelihood for millions of Ghanaians. It generates about 20% of Ghana's merchandise exports currently and has created a unique culture for our people and determines the pace of social progress and economic development. Almost every Ghanaian has been associated with and benefited from cocoa in a personal way. As a student, I spent time working on my grandfather's cocoa farm during school vacation and learned to appreciate the work of nature and the benefits that flow from it. I actually had my secondary school education supported with scholarship from Ghana Cocobod.
Touching on the future of cocoa production, Dr. Opuni was confident that with the increase in global cocoa consumption between 2 to 3% per annum and a projected production deficit of 100,000 tons by 2020, it presents great opportunities to producing countries like Ghana to increase production and productivity.
However, there are numerous challenges confronting the cocoa sector in Ghana.
Dr. Opuni, in his speech, said the cocoa industry in Ghana was faced with challenges that were affecting production. These challenges included aging cocoa farmers, aging cocoa trees, farmers not applying appropriate agronomical practices, and the attack of diseases and pests. However, despite these challenges, the CEO of Cocobod was confident that the board, under his leadership and with support of government, have put structures in place to overcome the challenges in the industry. Cocobod's trade finance facility dates back to 1992-93 when Cocobod, during the NDC government, turned to the international financial market for short-term loan to finance cocoa purchases. This was necessitated at the time as the board could not raise finance locally due to growing volume in production of the crop and the central bank's inability to raise such amounts. The amount raised is usually payable within 11 months and is secured on forward sales contract on cocoa beans to be produced in the coming cocoa crop year. The forward sales strategy also ensures stable income for the farmers and support national revenue planning. The global reputation of Cocoa Marketing Company, a subsidiary of Cocobod, in the performance of its sales contract obligations further contributes to the premium that counterparties pay for Ghana cocoa beans. Since the inception of this facility, the amount raised annually has increased from $140 million in 1992-93 to $2 billion in 2010-11. Cocobod has never defaulted on its debt obligation and ensured the loan is repaid before its due date. Following a successful signing ceremony, Mr. Joe Mensah, Managing Director of Ghana International Bank PLC, proposed a toast.
The cocoa industry in Ghana directly employs over 800,000 farmers involved, and indirectly, over 2 million people are dependent on the cocoa industry, and this has been efficiently managed by Ghana Cocobod, which throughout the years has supported the farmers in terms of inputs like fertilizers, spraying, proper husbandry practices, research facilities, education for their children, you name it. Ghana Cocobod has done it all. And in addition to that, Ghana Cocobod comes to the market every year to raise funding to support the cocoa industry and the hard-working farmers of Ghana. It is on this basis that I ask you all to join me in proposing a toast to Ghana Cocobod and the hard-working farmers of Ghana who have made all this possible. To Cocobod and the farmers of Ghana.
In a speech to bring the ceremony to a close, Mr. Harold Lehnen, head Global Transaction Banking, Middle East and Africa at Deutsche Bank, applauded Cocobod for another successful syndication.
Africa has actually a special position in the world economy. A large portion of the population is young. The talent pool is growing. The middle class is emerging rapidly. And there's great potential for further growth and prosperity. The challenge Africa now faces, like every other global emerging market, is to withstand the current period of lower commodity prices and in general global market volatility. However, those countries that stay on the path of sound macroeconomic policies and financial reforms will be in a better position to access the necessary financing and will emerge stronger. Opportunities exist in the region, especially in the area of the continent's huge natural resources, agriculture, infrastructure, and consumer-related industries. Indeed, Ghana, with its long history of democracy and sound governance, is well positioned to capitalize on these opportunities. Cocobod is a sound example of a beneficiary of Ghana's economic and political achievements, as it benefits significantly from the market-leading innovative production of cocoa emanating from Ghana's renowned agricultural industry and the expertise of cocoa marketing company as the single largest seller of cocoa globally. Ghana is one of the front runners in Africa when it comes to implementing solid governance structures and is regularly well received by the foreign investor community given its favorable business environment, generating high levels of foreign direct investment compared to its peers in sub-Saharan Africa.
Mr. Harold Lehnen, on behalf of the syndicating banks, made a presentation to Cocobod to mark the occasion.
We are very happy once again to be associated with this facility, which has been running for the past 22 years, and Cocobod has discharged its obligations impeccably. And we are associated with Ghana Cocobod, and what we bring to the table is that we give assurance that the monies will be repaid as the collection agents for this 1.8 billion facility. We have a system, an electronic collection system based both in London and in Cocoa House, where the documents are processed and scanned online, and then we look at it in London electronically and approve it, and the documents go to the collection bank.
And we are very happy to be on this transaction, I think for 5th or 6th year in a row. Even if it's all, let's say, every year a very competitive environment, but we'd like to be there and support this very specific transaction.
We've been doing this for 20 years, and I'm very happy for Cocobod to have such an oversubscription again. I mean, last year it was a quite difficult year in terms of production, but they repaid on time, and so we are very happy about that. And, I hope it's going to be a very nice crop year this year.
We have most of the farmers already getting very old. So if we don't encourage young men and women to go into cocoa farming, we're going to have a generation gap in that farming activity. and this will lead to low production levels. As I said in my speech, by the year 2020, we are expecting to have a deficit of about 100,000 metric tons. So that is one of the reasons we have decided to convince the youth to go into this venture. Already we have identified about 30,000 young men and women who are already in cocoa farming. And we're supporting them with extension services to ensure that they go by good agronomic practices. We're also supporting them with free fertilizer and also free chemicals. Apart from these, this year alone we produced 50 million seedlings, which is about 40,000 hectares. It's equivalent to 40,000 hectares of cocoa farm. And these were given to farmers free of charge. This will encourage cocoa farmers who have got their farms abandoned, overaged, or diseased to start rehabilitating these farms by way of cutting and replanting. Once we make the planting material available to them, they will be motivated to cut overaged farms, the abandoned farms, and then others also go into new farming. You know that the Tetequashi cocoa that we started cultivating in the 19th century until about maybe 20 years ago took 7 years to yield. What we're giving to the farmers now starts yielding by 18 months. That's 1.5 years. So it tells you that the future of Ghana cocoa is bright. We're going to continue with this program, the free hybrid seedling to cocoa farmers program. We're going to continue with it annually. Next year we'll start producing 60 million. That will be equivalent to 50,000 hectares of cocoa farm, and that is something we'll do every year. Once we get the farmers the right planting material, that will be a motivation for people to stay in cocoa farming. Apart from that, we need to develop the infrastructure in the cocoa farming communities. You know, most of the cocoa farming regions in Ghana, 6 of them have got very bad road network. And that is why the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, told Cocobod that we should take it upon ourselves and then ask the Ministry of Roads and Highways to be our consultants, so that we'll provide the funding and make sure, and also award the contracts to road contractors and make sure roads in cocoa growing communities are improved upon. And already most of the roads have been awarded to contractors, or contracts have been awarded and then work is ongoing. You see, apart from all these programs that we're offering to the farmers free of charge, including developing the infrastructure, especially the road network in the cocoa farming communities. If you remember, last year we increased the price of cocoa by such an amount that the farmers themselves told everyone they've never experienced before. We gave them 76% of the net FOB. By law, we're supposed to give at least 70%, but they got 76% of the net FOB. And this is a very big motivation to farmers, especially the young ones that we want to convince to embrace cocoa farming as a lucrative agricultural venture. This year, a French company called Touton is based in Bordeaux. They established their first ever processing plant in the Free Zones Enclave in Tema. We already have Cargill, Barry Callebaut, ADM is in Kumasi, Cargill is in Tema in the Free Zones, Barry Callebaut is there, BD Associates from Kazakhstan. We have a Ghanaian, a young, dynamic Ghanaian called Edmond Poku Niche Products, that's his company. And there are a lot more companies that are applying to process cocoa in Ghana. But what we want to encourage them to do is to process to the tertiary level, that is to final product, chocolates and also cocoa drinks. And if you consider the fact that West Africa alone has got a population of 300 million, if we also encourage our people to consume cocoa products locally, we'll be creating a new market. If even we have 5% of 300 million people consuming cocoa products, that's a big market already, and that will also ensure that price of cocoa stabilizes, because it is going to have, if you have a big demand for the product, then farmers, as they produce or increase production, there's not going to be oversupply, because if there's oversupply, the price of world market price of cocoa will drop. Fortunately, for a year now, the price at the world market has stabilized, and we hope it will continue to do so that farmers will be motivated to stay in cocoa farming. We've started rehabilitating schools in the deprived cocoa growing communities, that is primary schools from nursery to primary 6, and also to build schools in communities where they don't have them at all. This will ensure that children in cocoa growing communities will have access to quality education. When mothers are going to farm, fathers are going to their farms, they know that there's a nursery in that community where they can send their children to, and these children will be safe as their parents stay on their farms and come back home later in the afternoon. Cocoa farming is a lucrative business, provided you manage your farms well, provided you expand the farm, provided you don't make it a smallholder farming activity. And that is a message we're giving to especially the young men and women who are engaged in cocoa farming now. They will have their free planting material, and for that matter, the hybrid type, which will start bearing in 18 months. And as they expand their farms, they will make more money. Cocobod will continue to support cocoa farmers with extension services, and then they will also get inputs like agrochemicals and fertilizers to apply on their farms to boost production. Cocoa farming is really a lucrative venture, and since cocoa products have got nutritional health values, especially chocolates and the cocoa drinks, people continue to consume these products, and it is a venture that anyone will be advised to put their money into.